In this episode of Fictional Hangover, we talk about suffering unexpected consequences of wearing hats, learning not to bring a baby to a vampire fight, experiencing panicked panting with new hair for the evening, and discussing how one should not ride the aristocracy in our discussion of Timeless, Parasol Protectorate, Book the 5th by Gail Carriger. Hey everybody, welcome to Fictional Hangover, a podcast about young adult and new adult, and sometimes other books, series, authors, voice actors, and illustrators that is full of spoilers. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire. And today we're going to discuss Timeless, Parasol Protectorate, Book the 5th by Gail Carriger.
Standard disclaimer. If you haven't read this book, please remember that Fictional Hangover is all about spoilers. If you haven't read or listened and don't want to be spoiled, stop listening to us and go read or listen to the book. Then come back. If you haven't done this but want to pretend that you have, or if you don't care about spoilers, or if you just like the show so much, or you just like our hats so much that you don't care about any of that, then listen up.
What was it we were saying? Go Ivy or go home?
Yes.
And that's what we've done.
Yes, that's what we've done. God damn.
This is what happens when you have an alien life form octopus as your hat buddy.
It's fine. He's fine. He's fine.
He is. Would you like some tea? If you
yes. Yeah. Can I cool it off with my fan?
Yes, if you can blow it with your fan.
No, can't move the fan. It is affixed for now.
Can't move my head. It's affixed.
Right. Yeah. I say my fan is affixed. Everything will probably topple off as we proceed through this episode, but I did notice that my eyes were looking real squinty. So look, the octopus just fell over. So I had to adjust my hat because it was making my eyes close, which is a thing. So
that's an unexpected side effect of hat wearing.
Yeah. I've just given up. Look, he's just got his one little leg up there. Oh, two. He's got two. That's all he's got left.
I think he's trying to climb to the top, or he's trying to investigate the fan.
He might be. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, we should get on with this. It's the last one of our Parasol Protectorate Vampire Book Club set. Or is it?
Or is it?
For right now, it is.
Don't make me laugh because I literally cannot move my head.
Yeah, it's great. It's really great.
Please continue.
I don't really have anything else to say. It's the last one right now.
Have you got any background information you can add to it?
I do have background information that I can add to it. I'm just going to be touching the octopus all day. Is that a thing?
Is that a euphemism for something else?
I think that it might be. Touching.
I need to check Urban Dictionary.
Touching the octopus. If it's not, it will be by the time we're finished.
That's a good position he's in.
Yeah, I know. He's going to fall off.
Touching
the octopus.
Octo.
Yeah. So the background info that I found, of course, is from Miss Gail's website because, of course, I talk about it every single time we have an episode featuring Miss Gail. And, oh, did I say that? Did I say featuring Miss Gail? Oopsies! Spoiler alert. Yeah, so this is from her website, and she was asked a whole lot of questions by a super fan. And so she just compiled them all and all of her answers and put them on a page on her website. And one of my favorite bits from this post is the question, assuming he had his sword, who would win in a fight, Lord Akeldama or Lord Macon?
Oh.
That needs to happen, Gail. It needs to happen or my life will never be complete, is how the question goes on. And her answer is, if they met as mortals before metamorphosis, not possible because Connell wasn't yet born, Lord Akeldama. After, we all know Lord Akeldama is a lover, not a fighter. I think it would probably be a kind of comic avoidance with Lord Akeldama flitting about just out of reach, and Lord Macon chasing after him in an increasingly frustrated manner, destroying all the furniture until dawn.
It would get sexy after that, 100%.
It would probably get sexy. It would probably get sexy.
It would be very sexy. You know, we've all seen the beginning of that movie.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we have. So, what are your initial thoughts? It's the end. It's the end.
Or is it? We've already kind of said it.
Yeah.
Or is it?
Yeah. Or is it?
It's not. We've blatantly said we're going to cover the short stories.
Yes, we have. And also, you know, everyone, this is the beginning of this world. So even if it's the end of our coverage of all the main series, you can go and read all the rest of them if you haven't already. Or you can read them again.
All the Easter eggs.
Yes, definitely. So should we jump in?
Yes.
Okay.
Grab your parasol. Let's do this.
2 years have passed since we were last with Alexia, Connell, Lord Akeldama, and tiny baby Prudence.
Oh.
Prudence, now a toddler, is proving to be both a delight and a challenge to all in the combined Makan-Akeldama household. Tonight, she is a challenge, for it is bath night, and apparently she has avoided Boots and the drones attempting to bathe her and come into contact with Lord Akeldama, the dandy vampire himself, and now she sports his fangs, speed, and immortality. The only person who can return the toddler to her human, not immortal self is her mother, her favorite person in the whole wide world. Alexia's touch turns Prudence mortal and returns the vampire's powers. He promises to stay out of reach so Prudence can have her bath and Lord and Lady Makan can go to the theatre to see Ivy's new play.
Oh. The performances are quite ridiculous and features Ivy as a vampire queen and her husband Tunstall as her werewolf lover. It is a tragic, dramatic play, but Connell finds it hilarious, especially the dream sequence scene where Tunstall appears to be dancing bee and Ivy some sort of bear.
It's amazing.
Beautiful. At intermission, they are greeted by Madame LeFou, who has a request for Alexia to visit Countess Nadeshti after the performance. Alexia and Madame LeFou's relationship is somewhat strained after the lady scientist destroyed most of London in a rip-roaring rampage robot octopus and was made to be a drone to the now Wolsey vampire hive as punishment. The two friends, for they are still friends despite the rampaging, exchange pleasantries about their children.
Alexia and Connell stop off at home before heading out to the Wolsey hive. But before they can leave, Lyle arrives with Lady King Air in tow. She has some sort of business and needs to speak to her great-great-great-grandfather about it. Unfortunately, Prudence hears her parents talking and charges out to greet them and their new guest. She hugs Sidhe's leg, immediately shifting into a wolf and taking off through the still open doorway. Connell chases after her, and they all find it very interesting that once Prudence gets some distance away, she loses her wolf form. It seems her abilities work on some sort of tether. Connell, still a wolf, picks up his daughter, instantly swapping their forms, and the tiny wolf takes off again. This time, Alexia retrieves her daughter, preternatural, snuffing out the metanatural abilities. I love every scene with Prudence. Everything that she does. No. 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 No.
I love Prudence today.
No.
Prudence retrieved and napping, Sidhe reveals why she came to visit. She sent her beta, Douve, to Egypt to investigate the mummy that troubled them several books ago. Alexia reveals her discoveries that the broken Ankh symbol, the only note Sidhe received from either her beta or someone else, means preternatural. Connell and Sidhe leave for Burr to begin investigating, while Alexia and the only person available to accompany her to Wolsey, Channing of the Chesterfield Channings, leave to see the Countess. only a man in a very unfashionable, it must be said, turban. Egyptian, most decidedly, is interested in them on their train ride.
Biffy, meanwhile, wraps things up at Chapeau de Poop. He's doing remarkably well with the shop, even though he just had some very distasteful shoppers. The Loontwills. Felicity is, of course, ghastly, as always, but he deals with her to the best of his abilities and then heads down into the new werewolf dungeons that used to be Madame LeFou's laboratory. He goes about tidying things up, wondering how he could better decorate the space and planning to go out for the rest of the evening. He heads to the pack's new townhouse to change, but smells and hears something strange. Someone sandy? And 2 men speaking Arabic. One leaves without Biffy seeing. The other is Flute.
Alexia, meeting with the Countess, is about to summons the Countess received, but not for herself, for Alexia and Prudence. The Egyptian hive queen, Matakara, rumoured to be over 3,000 years old, yikes, has requested to meet Prudence. Alexia is miffed, and she must drop everything to attend the Egyptian queen, but then she sees there is more to the summons. A message that says her husband is missing a wolf, and she is missing her father. Well, she must go then, mustn't she? Before she and Channing of the Chesterfield Channings can depart, however, a drone with a head wound is rushed in to see the Countess. Showing off her maker fangs, the feeder fangs, and she tries to metamorphose the girl, but fails. The girl dying in a spill of blood from her eyes. That's attractive. Countess Nadeshti then feeds from Mabel Dare and Madame LeFou to regain her strength. At this point, Alexia and Channing of the Chesterfield Channings take the lead.
I just imagine them doing the Homer Simpson.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Just a slow reversal there into the bushes.
Yes.
On their way back, they encounter Duve at the train station, who looks a mite disheveled for a werewolf. He
is Scottish as well.
Right, but you gotta look nice if you're a werewolf. He has a horrible sunburn, long, scraggly hair, and a beard. It's clear that he's been in Egypt under the influence of the Godbreaker plague. He rushes to Alexia to tell her that her house is not in order and maybe something about her father, but then he is shot by an unknown assailant. Alexia and Channing of the Chesterfield Channings rush him back to the pack house, leaving him with Flute while they fetch a surgeon and Connell and Sidhay. Unfortunately, Duve dies. Uh-oh.
A lot of things happen simultaneously next. Sidhay and all the wolves plan to investigate Duve's death. Lord Akeldama wants to go on a walk in the park with his daughter and her mother, and a drone and the nursemaid, and they all simply must match. And Alexia tells Connell about the failed metamorphosis and the summons to Egypt to see Queen Matakara. Alexia cannot go to the park, but everything else basically begins to take shape. Connell readily agrees to go to Egypt with his wife despite the Godbreaker plague, so he can investigate what Duve was doing there, and he leaves the murder investigation up to Lyle, Biffy, and Channing of the Chesterfield Channings. Alexia is certain that the vampires won't mind her taking her own daughter to Egypt for a month or two, considering she was summoned by one of their own. Now, she just needs to contact Ivy.
Ivy!
Alexia! Hello, Alexia! It's been simply an age.
Ivy only needs some convincing to take her most recent show on the road to Egypt, while Alexia hopes they'll be able to condense the show down to just Ivy and Tunstall. That's simply not possible. Ivy will need to take many hat boxes. Her baby twins, Primrose and Percival, Tunstall, of course, the nursemaid, and 10 or so other people. Upon leaving, Alexia alerts the Countess that Queen Metacara will need to request to see the Death Rains of Swansea, Ivy's play, in person at her home, and that if she does, Alexia and Connell will be there with their darling daughter.
Meanwhile, Biffy and Lyle begin investigating Duve's death. They discuss Duve a little, but Lyle doesn't really know that much about him. Talk turns to alphas and what happens when they start to go mad, about 300 or 400 years in. Lyle suspects that Connell already has a plan in place for when that time comes for him. The two werewolves go to a bar that previously Dandy Biffy used to frequent near the train station and ask the barmaid there for juicy gossip that has happened since Biffy last visited. Lyle is impressed with Biffy's skills, but the only thing they learn about Duve's shooting is that it was done by a gentleman who left in a dirigible. At least they've got something to start with.
Alexia chats with Lord Akeldama to try to learn about Queen Metacara, but she doesn't learn much about what to expect from her visit, except that she shouldn't go to Egypt because it's dirty and smelly and not at all fashionable, what with all the robes. She does learn that Queen Metacara is the one that started it all for Lord Akeldama, meaning she is the one who gave him the bite. And that, for a short time after they are bitten, vampires have the ability to travel great distances, which is evident since Lord Akeldama is obviously not currently living in Egypt.
Upon packing for her trip, Alexia learns that Countess Nadeshti is sending one of her drones along on the trip as well, presumably to keep an eye on things for the Vampire Queen, or to get rid of her for a little while. Alexia doesn't know how she feels about Madame LeFou travelling with her, but Flute assures her that she misses her friend. Alexia isn't sure about how she feels about Flute right now either. He has been with her so long, but is he loyal to her or still to her father? He informs Alexia that her father would not like her going to Egypt. But you know what? He would not like many of the choices she's made, and he's not here anymore, so she can do what she pleases. Alexia, struggling with who she can trust right now, knows there is one person she definitely can trust. Biffy. She inducts him into the Parasol Protectorate without a special parasol, unfortunately, and he chooses the code name Wingtip Spectator. Alexia instructs him to keep her up to date on everything happening while she's away in Egypt, and he happily agrees.
There is quite a kerfuffle when it is time to board the train, involving toppling hats, Prudence properly meeting and shaking tiny baby hands with Madame LeFou, or Fou, as she is called, and sharing baby gossip with her father, and then some rousing bawdy songs and early morning ale, but they set off. Alexia mentions missing her parasol to her wayward friend, who says she would have made her a replacement, of course, but Alexia isn't so sure she can trust Madame LeFou, what with her rampaging across London in a robotic octopus. Connell assures his wife that he has seen to acquiring another parasol for her, this one commissioned by their other inventor friend, Trouvé. And Alexia is pleased to learn that it will be arriving imminently, even while they are on their trip. Speaking of, the boarding of the ship to Egypt is worse than the boarding of the train, but again they manage, minus one of Ivy's hats that fell into the sea. Only one, though. She has at least,
just one.
10 or 12 others.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. I like the idea of a seagull finding it, and it's like, this is our new home now.
Yes, or a crab making it its new shell.
Or you know how orcas tend to sometimes wear salmon as hats?
Yes.
But it started off because of Ivy.
Yeah, I can believe that.
It was Ivy's hat started that orca trend.
Yeah, Canon accepted.
Cool. Anyway, let's go and see Biffy. He is shocked to see someone waiting at the hat shop when he arrives to open for the evening. This person has a long, thin package for Alexia and introduces himself as Trouvé. And Biffy introduces himself as Sandalio di Rabbifano, but everyone just calls him Biffy. The two gentlemen chat for a moment, and when Trouvé learns that everyone has left on a trip to Egypt, he inquires about Channing of the Chesterfield Jennings, who he met on Alexia's trip to Italy. Biffy directs Trouvé to the pack house and then inspects the parasol. It is perfectly ghastly! It looks like an umbrella.
Oh no!
It's olive and drab and has visible stitches.
I need to remove my fan from my hat so I don't swoon.
Yes, Before Biffy sends it to Alexia, he must sort out ribbons and lace to attempt to make it more fetching. That was dramatic.
Alexia and Prudence join Madame LeFou for tea, and the old friends flirt a little and talk about Madame LeFou's life as a drone and how Cannelle seems to be getting a great education. Alexia questions who Madame LeFou is reporting to on their journey. The Woolsey Hive? The Order of the Brass Octopus? But, it's entirely possible she's reporting only to herself. Madame LeFou leaves and is soon replaced by nearly everyone else from their traveling party. They enjoy a delicious dinner, and then Alexia and Connell enjoy some time to themselves.
The voyage goes well, mostly, except for that time that, whilst playing with her ride-on ladybug, made specifically for her by Trouvé, Prudence fell into her father, thus turning her into a tiny werewolf wearing a fluffy pink dress.
Yes. Best scene, hands down, in the entire book.
Biffy and Lyle, meanwhile, are dealing with a lot of raw vampires acting inappropriately. It could be because there is not a London vampire queen anymore, or it could be because Lord and Lady McCann are away, or it could be a combination of something else entirely. Biffy is very astute and picks up on a lot of details, leading Lyle to say that he'll make a great replacement. A replacement? For what? Lyle does not say.
Alexia's new parasol arrives whilst they're trying to catch Prudence. After successfully wrangling the child, Alexia is able to test her new treasure. It is quite lovely, with Biffy's modifications now striking black and white instead of hideously drab olive. It has all the same accoutrement as her other one, slightly different as it has a new maker, but it has one addition. When Alexia tests what seems to be a grappling hook, unfortunately she falls overboard with the kickback. Connell dives in after in wolf form to rescue his wife, and they discover something. Connell remains in wolf form even though he is touching his bare-handed wife. It must be the water.
Biffy, meanwhile, returns home from investigating men who have dirigibles, but still no real knowledge of who attacked Douve. Unfortunately, Felicity's back.
Ugh.
She's at the pack house when he arrives, and she is talking to Sid here. Sid here starts yelling for Lyle, but Biffy arrives instead, and she backhands him across the room, shifts into her wolf form, and leaves, presumably in search of Lyle. Sid here seems to have found out that he was the one responsible for the plot to kill the Queen all those years ago that disrupted her pack and made her great-great-great-grandfather Connell abandon them. Biffy asks what Felicity said to Sid here. I'm sure we all know. Too much and needs to keep our bloody mouth shut.
She's the worst.
I hate Felicity so much.
Alexia and Connell talk about their water discovery and that they'll have to test it further in the bath.
Oh.
And then they realize why Prudence hates bath time so much. It must dull her senses. Many tests, some sexy, some not, will have to be done between the preternatural and the werewolf in the water.
Thank goodness Biffy knows where Lyle is and heads straight to him after thoroughly verbally bashing Felicity, yes, and telling her his plans to explain her wretched attitude and what she's done to her sister, trying to ruin her life just now with revealing to Sid that Alexia knew about Lyle's betrayal and kept it all a secret from her husband. To Lord Akldama, who will ensure her social standing will no longer exist.
Second best scene in the entire book.
Oh. Biffy finds Lyle in a fight with Sid here at Burr and immediately jumps in the fray to support his beta. They take turns fighting Sid here all night long, for she is a powerful and a bloody determined alpha.
When the sun comes up, Sithe insists Lyle replace Duve as her beta since he caused so much trouble long ago. Lyle explains why he did what he did, which really was only to set everything in motion, and that others were allowed to make their own decisions. And though it's not mentioned specifically, it is obvious that many sexually violent assaults occurred. Even so, Sithe insists that Lyle become her beta. Biffy will assume Lyle's role after Lyle realized he kept his wits about him during the fight, which is very difficult for any wolf to do, much less one that is only a few years changed. After a night of protecting one another as wolves, the two men go to bed together, at first only for comfort. But then, as something more. I need my fan. Oh.
So happy.
Finally.
Yes. The journey to Egypt finally ends, though there are lots of ridiculous things that happen with the practicing and performing of plays, most important of which is Prudence wearing a moustache. And Madame LeFou approving wholeheartedly.
Of course.
They make it through customs with the help of a vampire, Chancellor Neshi, sent by Queen Metakara, and ride donkeys to their hotel. Ivy's like, "Oh, Alexia!" Which is also quite silly and includes Tunstall splitting his tight pants. And the twins in matching baskets.
Yes, it's precious. Everything is ridiculous in this book.
I love it so much.
Shortly after arriving and having relations, Connell goes for a jaunt as a werewolf, but returns not long after with something to show his wife and daughter. He takes them to where the Godbreaker plague is in effect, and Prudence, with her few words, declares "Mama!", which they decide means that to her daughter, the feeling in the air is what Alexia feels like to Prudence. Alexia was worried she would be repulsed by the feeling of the plague as she was with the mummy, but it is quite the opposite. They wonder if their discovery that water has an effect on her abilities might have something to do with how she feels now, which is a possibility. The place where they are standing used to be full of water, but is now a dried-up lake bed, after all.
After this discovery, it is time for the acting troupe and Alexia, Connell and Prudence to visit Queen Matakara. They travel to her home in a steam engine and are welcomed by 6 vampires, the entirety of the Alexandria hive, and several drones. The vampires and drones love the performance, especially Tunstall's bumblebee dance, and after the show ends, the actors are shown out to enjoy coffee, leaving Alexia, Connell and Prudence to meet the Queen.
Queen Matakara is seated behind a tented curtain, though it seems she is fastened into her throne rather than sitting atop it. There are tubes and fluids constantly pumping into the queen, and her eyes seem to be full of anguish. Chancellor Neshi, speaking for the queen, demands that they bow greater and more deeply than their curtsies, and demands to see Prudence's abilities, and questions them rudely about what she can do. Another vampire swoops in and grabs the toddler, only to drop her when she immediately steals his form and becomes a vampire. Alexia retrieves her daughter, returning her to her human form, and one of the other vampires makes to strike her, or perhaps Prudence, but Connell, in wolf form, steps in front to protect his family. Chancellor Neshy guides them out of the room, though outside, Prudence, in not so many words, seems to want to help the queen, worried that she is trapped. Yeah, she's strapped into a chair.
She's like some kind of Doctor Who villain.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's frightening.
It's horrible. Biffy and Lyle, meanwhile, mostly Biffy, discover that the Godbreaker plague expanded 50 years ago. Meant to be researching why Duke was shot, he discovered this instead. They must tell Alexia immediately, and also let her know about Sidhe and Lyle. The next day, in Egypt, Alexia, Prudence, Ivy, Primrose and Percival go out for a donkey ride to take in the sights during the daylight hours. Alexia needs to visit an ethnographic transmitter to see if there is any information from Biffy, but along the way, looking at various shops and wares, a very handsome man descends from a balloon and tells Alexia, by name, what she is looking for is further away. No one seems to have seen this interaction, which Alexia finds quite odd. They go to the transmitter office and receive a message.
Biffy is jostled awake by his claviger, who is made to rouse him with time enough to get to the pack's ethnographic transmitter before his scheduled time to message Alexia. He tells her about the moving Godbreaker plague and that it began 50 years ago, and that Lady Kingair knows about Lyle and has written to Connell about it. Just then, Alexia remembers a missive that Connell received that she assumed was about BUR, but it was not. She must get back to the hotel before Connell reads it.
Oh no. Unfortunately, on the way back to the hotel, Alexia, Ivy, Prudence, Primrose, Percival and the nursemaid are attacked by a random group of men dressed in white. Luckily, the handsome balloon man comes to their rescue and leads them back to the hotel. Again, unfortunately, Connell greets them, angry, and with the crumpled missive in his hand. He is so hurt by Alexia keeping the secret, even more so than Lyle keeping it first, and he storms away from the hotel. Alexia, quite unlike herself, bursts into tears. Luckily, Ivy is there to help her inside, and the nursemaid can tend to the children, while Alexia is crying. Madame LeFou arrives and also tends to her friend.
Alexia comes back to herself and asks Madame LeFou if, in addition to her keeping watch over Alexia and Prudence and the goings-on with Queen Matakara for Countess Nadashti, if she is also in Egypt to investigate the Godbreaker plague on behalf of the Order of the Brass Octopus. She reveals that she is, and that the expansion of the plague began some 40 years ago, not 50 like Biffy suggested, and that it, of course, had something to do with Alessandro Terabati. He was working for the OBO at the time and ended up abandoning them and taking half the other operatives with him, but no one knows why.
Oh. It's not necessarily true. After some more investigation, but being stopped by something called the Clandestine Act, and speaking with Lord Akeldama, who knows just about everything, Biffy and Lyle determine that the one person who knows everything that happened 40 to 50 years ago in Egypt with Alessandro Tarabotti is his butler Flute. Lyle and Biffy question him and learn that the first time Alessandro went to Egypt, nothing of consequence happened. The second time, he met Letitia Pinklington, Alexia's mother. But the third time, something of import happened, though he is also bound by the Clandestine Act, which prohibits any supernatural creature from knowing what happened in Egypt for some unknown reason. Biffy believes that whatever it is that happened will not paint Alessandro in a very good light, which wouldn't be so bad if Alessandro wasn't Lyle's former lover.
Ooh.
To be honest, though, you can kind of imagine if Alessandro was involved in it, it's probably not going to be great.
Yeah. Not...
Yeah.
After a rousing performance of Ivy and Tunstall's play, it is discovered that Primrose and Prudence have been kidnapped. Everyone goes into hysterics, but then Prudence crawls out from underneath the bed. She, being only 2, is unable to articulate who kidnapped her baby friend, but instead cries out for Dama and home. Alexia takes charge of the situation and gets everyone calmed down enough to help. Tunstall is sent out to the authorities, and Ivy is sent to bed with laudanum. Alexia seeks Madame LeFou, who might be able to help her, but learns that she has left. Luckily, Connell arrives then, and though he is still mad at his wife, he begins immediately to help her investigate. He tracks Madame LeFou's scent to the river.
Biffy goes to transmit to Alexia another bit of information he has found, that the Godbreaker plague is centred at Luxor, at Hatshepsut's tomb, and learns from Alexia that someone has kidnapped Primrose and that Connell is angry about Lyle and Alexia's secret. He decides to question Flute again and realises that he really is the key to everything and that he is the one who killed Douve. He retrieves Flute's gun and checks its bullets. Exactly the same old-fashioned sundowner bullet that killed the beta. But why? Biffy questions Flute only to find out that he is following his master's last orders. 1, to protect Alexia, and 2, protect the mandate of the Broken Ankh. Knowing he'll get no more information from him, Biffy knocks the elderly butler out and secures him in the wine cellar.
Alexia tells Connell, who is still angry about the missive from Biffy about Luxor, and that is probably where Madame LeFou is also headed, as she was seen at the docks with a great deal of money and a small bundle. Alexia, Connell, and Prudence set off to follow her. Unfortunately, there is no steam engine available to take them, so they have to go by riverboat, which is very slow. Luckily, not too long after their float begins, the same handsome man approaches Alexia and asks if she is ready to right the wrong of the father. She agrees, and they head toward Luxor in his balloon.
Connell is not a good floater. Werewolves get exceptionally airsick. So while they're gliding along peacefully with this drifter and his family, Prudence helping in what way a 2-year-old can, Alexia taking everything in scientifically, Connell is vomiting. When he finally feels better, it means either they've reached the ether and werewolves are not impacted by it, or they have reached the area of the Godbreaker plague. But it's hard to tell which, as the plague feels similar to the ether to Alexia.
Biffy comes to BUR to tell Lyle about Flute likely killing Douve because of something Alessandro set him to do dealing with the Godbreaker plague, but Cité overhears and rushes off to find and kill the butler. The wolves chase her to the townhouse and leave her to start her search at the servants' quarters while they know he is locked in the wine cellar. Or at least he was. It appears Flute has escaped. Cité is furious, mainly at Biffy for Flute's escape, and goes to attack. Lyle prepares to defend, and Biffy, torn between the desire to keep himself safe while also not enduring the shift again, turns only his head into wolf form. Cité stops in her tracks, and Lyle looks on in awe. Biffy has Anubis form, something that only alphas generally have. Yay, Biffy!
They decide to chase after Flute, assuming he's going to Egypt. The something that Flute has been sent to do with the plague might be to let it expand, which will eventually stop all metamorphosing, something that the Templars are very interested in. And let's not forget that Alessandro was once part of that group. Of course, he's had his hand in just about everything, literally. Ew. It's not sanitary. They all know that Flute will have travelled to Egypt by air, it being the fastest, so Cité sets off to the airfield and the public dirigibles. Lyle and Biffy, stuck in Anubis form, go next door to Lord Akeldama's to see if Flute took his dirigible, appropriately named Tenderloin Fluff Upon a Spoon.
One of my favourite quotes comes from this section, and I'm not gonna scroll down and mention it specifically right now, because I will mention it later, but I love that Lord Akeldama is just like, oh, Biffy, did you change your hair? Oh, what is this? It's so adorable.
Oh, they're all adorable.
And Biffy's like, Flute did indeed take the vampire's dirigible. Lord Akeldama seems to be most pleased that Biffy is an alpha now and insinuates that Lyle must be too, given that he is now going to have to be Sidhay's beta, and that maybe he even knew about it before it happened, but he did not. He did not know that. That's not important right now anyway. What is important is that Flute is a killer and is on his way to Alexia, and no one wants her to find out that her dear butler and longtime caregiver is a murderer. Lord Akeldama sends his drones to alert the authorities while Biffy and Lyle watch the sunrise. Biffy finally getting his head back. Yay! His first words are that he does not want to be an alpha, to which Lyle replies that the best ones never do.
As they continue to float for a week more, Prudence makes a friend, Anitra, and the drifters gather with others in a sort of floating balloon sitting. Alexia sees below them that what looks like an octopus in the sands, and is told that they are called ghost roads, perhaps made before the Godbreaker plague spread. She sees the eyes of the octopus as a sort of temple, and learns that it was Hatshepsut's temple. They land, and Alexia feels overwhelmed by the immense pressure of the plague, like she felt in direct contact with the preternatural mummy in Scotland. The only thing that makes her feel better is to be dunked in the Nile, which is where she awakens after having fainted.
It was Madame LeFou's idea to throw Alexia in the river, and now that they're all together again, maybe they can all work together to figure out what is going on. At least we know now that Madame LeFou did not kidnap Primrose and had no idea she was even taken. She came here on behalf of the OBO to search Hatshepsut's tomb to learn the source of the plague, and now it seems that they have found it. The Ghost Road is made of corpses.
Oh.
Preternatural corpses.
Ooh.
A lot of them.
Ooh. Connell laughs at the idea of this plague being Hatshepsut's tomb, being that she is still alive, if, bolted to a chair. And Alexia is shocked to know that Matakara is Hatshepsut. Why should she have done this? Connell knows that too. To keep werewolves and other supernaturals out of Egypt. They surmise that it was Alexander the Great's idea. Because when the Greeks took over Egypt, they were very anti-supernatural. So it's possible Matakara created a deal with Alexander and she would be the only supernatural there. Anyway, we don't need to talk about Alexander the Great anymore, do we? How did this stop it? Before they can decide, the men in white robes that attacked Alexia earlier are back, and this time they are travelling on a methane gas-powered snail. A gastropod.
It's a gastropod! You gotta say gas! It's a gastropod!
It's a gastropod!
Connell goes to fight the men, even though he is currently mortal. He tells Alexia and Prudence and Madame LeFou to get to the balloon, but of course Alexia refuses to abandon him. Alexia follows Connell, making Madame LeFou take Prudence to the balloon. In the fight, Connell gets shot, but realizing they are outgunned, they retreat to the balloon. Unfortunately, as they are climbing the ladder, Connell gets shot again. This time with a massive elephant gun. And he falls.
He's not an elephant. Makes no sense. Biffy, meanwhile, just to interrupt the literal horrors that just occurred, waits for messages from Alexia, but, obviously he gets none. Before leaving for Luxor, Alexia asked Ivy to message Biffy if she was feeling up to it. But it seems she hasn't, which, understandable. Upon learning of Biffy's new abilities, because of course Lyle had to alert the pack, Channing of the Chesterfield Jannings does not believe Biffy is an alpha and is being a dick about it.
No one is shocked. No one is shocked.
It's just his personality trait,
yeah,
so...
no one's shocked by this.
Even challenging him when he is unable to summon his Anubis form. Dick. Lyle shuts him down though, and we all applaud.
Alexia wants to go back for Connell, but Madame LeFou won't let her. He is dead. He was shot by an elephant gun and fell from a great height. He's dead. A week or so passes, and Alexia floats along, barely cognizant of anything. Ivy comes out of her own depression to help her friend, but lets her know that she was unable to retrieve the messages sent by Biffy. Alexia gets them and is crushed again by what she learns. Flute is a murderer and has been keeping secrets about the Godbreaker plague.
When Alexia returns from retrieving her ethographic transmissions, she tells Ivy and Madame LeFou about what she learned. Ivy says that Flute was just there looking for her, hopefully to tell her the truth, but she sent him away to find her. Then Prudence comes rushing in with a note. The bad men in white came back again, and this time they want Alexia. Alexia, not really seeing much point in her life at this point, decides to go, but Madame LeFou and Ivy manage to hold her back for a short moment, trying to convince her to at least think of a plan before she leaves. Just then, a group of men, presumably OBO, summon Madame LeFou out in the lobby of the hotel. While she is speaking with them, Alexia walks out unnoticed.
Alexia travels by donkey to the meeting place left on the note and is met by Chancellor Neshi. He demands to know why the baby he stole isn't working. And, well, it's because he napped the wrong kid. He had plans to secretly and quietly help Queen Matakara finally die without the rest of the hive noticing by letting Prudence steal her vampire form so she'll be mortal and able to die peacefully. Now, instead of Alexia take Primrose back to her mother and come back with Prudence, Chancellor Neshi demands Alexia turn Matakara mortal right now, which will cause the rest of the hive to go mad and probably kill Alexia and everyone else and then die themselves, since they will be without a queen.
This guy is not very good at plans.
He's really not.
Before this can happen, Madame LeFou arrives, having figured out what is going on and what the Chancellor had planned, and she's brought help. Prudence!
No.
Bring a 2-year-old to a vampire fight.
Don't bring a baby to a vampire fight. Don't do it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
That's like a good idea. Okay. Bringing a baby to a vampire fight, it might not be the best idea. No. But, she didn't come alone. She also brought Ivy and Tunstall and the rest of the acting troupe.
Would you rather bring a baby to a vampire fight or a gaggle of weird actors?
Of thespians.
Yes. Save that would you rather for later. Add it to our list. Definitely.
Well, a huge fight begins. It'd be very dramatic. And Prudence steals a vampire form and bites people. And all the other vampires are also biting people. But they bite one person in particular, Ivy.
Oh.
And the actors are brandishing stage weapons. The stage weapons. Do you know, everything's just a huge mess.
Prudence is captured by her mother, changing her back into herself, and is placed on Queen Matakara's lap. Very clearly knowing what she is doing and that it is helping, Prudence carefully places her hands on the queen's face, and I can't help but picture Renesmee. This is how she communicates. And it's just a weird baby hand. It's a weird baby hand on a face.
My hand.
Oh, no. So Queen Matakara is now mortal. Things get really bad when the vampires realize what is happening, that they're about to be without a queen, and so they begin to fight harder. Just then, a butler riding a giant wolf arrives.
What?
Uh-huh.
Wasn't expecting that. Okay. Connell is alive!
Yay!
Yay! Alexia, realising her husband is not dead, but her best friend almost is, manages to speak to the Chancellor and convince him to let her remove Prudence and give Matakara her form back temporarily to attempt to change her dying best friend and into a vampire queen, which will save them all in the end. Tunstall, devastated with his bleeding wife in his hands, agrees to let them try.
The metamorphosis looks similar to when Countess Nadashti tried earlier. After the bite, Ivy's eyes turn red with blood and she begins to scream. Alexia worries that her friend might not have enough excess soul to become a vampire, but no! Wait! Ivy's eyes change back to her normal brown, and her scream reveals 2 sets of bloody fangs. 1 feeder set and 1 maker set. Ivy's become a queen! Lisping around her new fangs, Ivy tries to figure out what has happened as her new hive swarms around her. As Ivy becomes queen, Alexia touches Matakara and she dies peacefully then and there. Chancellor Nashi then touches Prudence, giving her his powers, and jumps out the window. His life was long, like Matakara's, and he, too, was ready for it to end. Man, jumping out the window, though?
It's extreme.
That is. Whew.
Having learned earlier from Lord Akeldama that new vampires can move long distances shortly after being turned, Alexia alerts Ivy, who has just been fretting about having to stay in Egypt, and now that she knows she can move her hive back to London, she chooses to do so. The vampires don't put up too much of a fuss, and rather quickly they clear out their hive house, heading back to the hotel to gather the rest of the new Queen's family and their belongings, and are ready to move to London.
Alexia, Connell, Prudence, and Madame LeFou are alone in the empty hive house. Giving the recently reunited family time together, Madame LeFou goes to examine the ancient vampire corpse. Alexia questions how Connell is alive, and he explains that Flute found him and rescued him from his men. His men, who were holding Connell hostage and got him out of the Godbreaker zone so he could heal. Obviously, Flute will have told Connell everything about killing Duve and that Alessandro tasked him with keeping the plague going. So while they were all fighting and Ivy was becoming a vampire, he disappeared. Even though it's sad that Flute has left them, at least he won't have to stand trial for murder or be turned over to Cité for an even worse fate.
When they arrive back in London, Lord Akeldama is in a bit of a tizzy because Ivy is a new queen and has brought many vampires and drones back with her. That's not really what bothers him, though. It's her hats, Alexia. Her hats! Despite that, he is happy to have his adopted daughter back home, and Prudence is happy to have her Dharma again, though they've discovered that she's not very happy about her name.
No! Biffy gives Connell a letter from Lyle. In it, he apologizes without apologizing for not telling his alpha about his plans all those years ago. He also explains that Biffy will be taking his place as beta, but as Connell can definitely tell, Biffy will be replacing him as alpha whenever he is ready. This coincides quite nicely with the plans that Connell has to retire to Egypt when Prudence has come of age. This worries Alexia because if they live in the Godbreaker zone, Connell will grow old and die. Yes, Connell assures his wife he will, but they will do it together, which is really quite romantic.
Aww.
What a nice ending.
Yes, I love it. Let us take a moment to absorb the ending.
Yes, and to absorb the weight from our hats. Oh! Mine's really hurting me right here.
That's a very specific point.
I know, it's really weird. It's fine, though. It's fine.
Books and Homes USA partners with schools across the country to provide their students with brand new free books to take home and enjoy. We believe in helping kids build their own home libraries to support early literacy achievement and promote a lifelong love of reading. To learn more, visit www.booksandhomesusa.org. Make a gift today and help us spread the joy that comes from receiving a new book.
Okay, well...
I have a question.
What?
Flute buggers off at the end of this one.
Uh-huh.
Remind me, in the Custard Protocol, he's with his granddaughter, isn't he?
I believe so.
That's how he's reintroduced.
Yeah. And also, he turns into a ghost at some point.
Yes, he becomes formally Flute.
Yes.
That's fair enough. But he becomes formally Flute during.
Yes, and there's lots of tanks involved.
Yes, that's fine. But it's just, I couldn't remember. For some reason, I was like, but Flute was there with Prudence while she was been going up. But no, she wasn't.
No.
And I haven't had a chance to reread the beginning of the Custard Protocol.
Because we discover that Prudence gets a new caregiver for a little while. Sophronia.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just need to remind me that bit. That bit confused the life out of me, and I just did not have time to check.
Yeah, and everything ties back up together.
Oh, complete. I mean, to be fair, most of what I spent the entire time listening to this one, because I listened to the audiobook, was going, Easter egg, Easter egg. I mean, is it?
I know.
Because that's one of the questions really for the Oath Beast.
Yes.
Miss Gail, is, how much of it was
How much of
planned?
it was happening at the same time in her head? And how does she keep it all straight?
Of two different series as well. Because it's like, Prudence is riding around on that bespoke ladybug.
Yes.
Which to me foretells a spotted custard.
Yes.
Because spotted custard looks like a ladybug.
Yes.
And then at the end, Alexia turns to Lord Akildama and literally calls him Goldenrod.
Yes.
And the amount of times the wicker chicken is in some way insinuated.
It's amazing.
There was one quote where it was like, plucked goose made of straw. I was like, or is it actually a wicker chicken?
It's a wicker chicken. It's definitely a wicker chicken. I did appreciate, and it's not mentioned in the summary because there was so much going on in this one, that Biffy is... No, not Biffy. Sorry. The balloon family with Anitra, which also makes me squeak because they also show up again later in the series. Yes. But he tells Alexia that he's found out all of his information from Goldenrod, and she's like, huh? Who? So, I'm just wondering, did Biffy induct Lord Akildama, and he has this, they're doing this in the background, and so he's already come up with his nickname too? Or has he just been calling himself that for thousands of years? In Alexandria?
Well, this is the thing as well. Alexander the Great was around about 320-ish BC.
Uh-huh.
So by now, he would be about 2,000 years old.
Uh-huh.
Which is around about the same age as Metakaria.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
This is when you start going, pieces get put together.
Yeah.
Puzzle pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great.
Do you know what? I love a clever author. I love a clever
Yeah,
author.
I don't think
but
there
I also
is anyone more clever than Miss
really...
Gail.
Oh, yeah. I feel angry, though, about clever authors who can do such intricate work, because then I'm like, damn it, didn't pick up on this. And, you know, because you like to feel smarter than the person.
No.
Especially if it's a murder mystery sometimes.
No.
But sometimes I'm like, oh, you got me.
No.
But I'm not offended because it's Miss Gail, and I freaking adore Miss Gail.
Yeah, she's one of the greatest human beings of all time.
Hells yeah.
So let's talk about this book a little bit instead of talking about every other book written by Miss Gail, which are all nicely and neatly tied together. I loved Prudence in this one.
No, I want to
Prudence
talk
is
about
my
Channing
favorite
of
character.
the Chesterfield Channings.
No, not Channing.
Oh,
Channing of the
100%
Chesterfield
Prudence.
Channings.
He'll have his time. No, I agree. Prudence. No. Is amazing, but also Biffy. Biffy.
Yes,
always.
Biffy. Also, Ivy. Ivy is also great. Alexia. But now she's lisping around her fangs. Oh, I wish I had my double set of fangs. I wish I had my makers and my regular fangs because, I put those in the other day pretending to be something else. I was pretending to be a fox at work because, of course, I do that as the manager of a library. And the lisping was so bad, and I was just thinking of Ivy the whole time, lisping around her fangs.
Alexia.
What's happening here?
What's going on, Alexia?
Oh, my hat, Alexia.
What's in my mouth, Alexia? Alexia, I'm a queen. I will be able to inform fashion going forward. I shall write a book, Alexia.
Oh, no. Oh.
Alexia, I shall become an authoress.
Oh, no.
My children shall adore me, Alexia, and not be embarrassed at all.
No, definitely not.
I already like the fact that in this one you can tell that Primrose and Percival are like the babies, but they're already mortifyingly embarrassed by their mother.
Yes, of course they are. But they still love her.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, now I just want to go back and read Custard Protocol again.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. Might have to throw the audiobooks on as a little treaty treat.
Yeah.
On the background.
It's
so exciting, though.
I love Alpha Biffy.
Yes, 100%.
And that he wanted to help Lyle, but he really hates changing. And so I can just imagine he's like, his body's going one way and his head goes the other way, and then it's just like, oh, no, wolf head. And then he's, oh, what is happening? And he's just a giant bobble-headed wolf.
The panic.
Yes.
Not knowing what to do, where to go, where to look,
yes.
or where your body, yes.
But it's not panic, it's panting. So he's like...
Panic panting.
Panicked panting.
Oh, bless him.
He's so precious, though. He's so precious. And the fact that he and Lyle finally got together, which we all knew was a thing.
Yes, it had to happen, but it's lovely when it does.
Yes.
I don't mind things when it's, things are going to happen. This is why spoilers don't overly bother me.
Yeah.
And why I can reread books very happily. Because
then you get to that point and you're like, oh, here it is. It's finally happening.
Yeah, but you spend the rest of the time going, I know what's going to happen. You're going to start kissing. There's going to be kissing.
But I love
and then you get to the kissing and it's just satisfying.
Yes. I love how it happened, though, because they're just like, you know what? We just had a really long fight. All night long, and they're protecting each other all night long from Sidhay, and they're like, I just want to lay down, and they're like, yeah, I just want to lay down next to you.
Yeah,
it's so sweet.
Yeah, because there's respect.
Yeah,
There's respect and there's trust.
Oh, so good.
And it's a beautiful thing. And like, I like it when Biffy's like points out that he gets something from one of the drones. And then he's like, oh, I'll just order my valet to come in Lyle's room from that point on, because everybody will know about it in a second.
Yeah.
And then Channing of the Chesterfield Channings gives him a look. Doesn't say anything, but gives him a look. I think Channing of the Chesterfield Channels is actually fairly liberal, you know. But he's got this reputation, and he just needs to uphold that reputation. But he is at the same time, because of his background, a dick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does
There's
this
so
make
many good scenes in this one?
Ivy and Akeldama siblings?
Yes. Technically. Bite siblings, but yeah.
Vampiric siblings?
Yeah.
That would devastate Akeldama. I mean, the hats. And now he realises he's blood related, like now.
Yeah.
Through bite. Oh. Do you know who I would want to bite but not fulfill metamorphosis because they don't deserve it?
Felicity?
Yes!
She's the worst. But I love that Biffy is able to put her in her place. And, like, he's like, you better just go ahead and move to the Americas because you're done. You're done here. Get out. You're ruined. Like, yes.
Good.
Yes.
Be gone!
Yeah, get out of here.
Give her the cut direct.
Yeah, get out of here. You are not welcome anymore. You've ruined everything. And you did it all to yourself.
She's just a selfish bitch.
It should have been me. Why was it
Really?
Alexia? She's so ugly and fat. It should have been me. No. Nah.
Yeah. No, you're an ugly person, Felicity.
Yeah.
You're going to be by yourself now.
Yeah.
Nobody wants you.
Nobody likes you.
No, not at all.
No. I loved every scene with Prudence. And everything that she said, and everything that she's done, and everything that she does do. I love her. She's the most precious little thing.
She's not an annoying child.
No. I feel like she's very, very smart already. And I love that every time they said anything to her, calling her Prudence, any question that it was, whether she liked it or not, no. And they finally realize it's because she hates her name. No. But she's just like tiny and precious. Like, do you want some warm milk with cinnamon? No.
I like the way that Alexia talks to her, actually. She talks like she's just a mini human being, because it reminds me of the way that I always talk to my mini human being. Like, never did that baby talk.
No, I don't.
Never dumbed things down. Changed tone slightly to make it more meaningful. You know, you get there to tone the meaning a bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just talked to my mini human like he was a little mini human, and it got to the stage where he went to meet Santa when he was like 3 or 4, and Santa couldn't hold the conversation with him because he didn't know how to talk to him, because he wasn't being a regular child. He was like using full sentences and being very prudency really. But yeah, I love that, because that's what people do.
Yeah.
No complaints over toilet habits either.
No. What else?
I don't know what else to say about this one, because it's just a fun adventure. It's a proper adventure story.
Yes.
There's so many revelations that take place, but it all neatly wraps up.
Yes.
Finally find out, the Belial storyline sorted. We find out about the Godbreaker plague. We find out more about Alexandra Tarabotti and flute. The whole flute revelations are like, whoa!
Yeah.
But it's also very obvious flute has been there all along.
Yeah. Flute will have had to have been involved.
Yeah. It seems so obvious.
Yeah.
Because he's given that servant status.
Yeah, he just kind of blends into the background and nobody expects
But that's what a good servant does.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what is expected of a good servant.
It's also what a good intelligencer does.
It is. Always check your plotted plans.
Yes. Always poke the wallpaper. Do you know, I was surprised by something in this one. I'm surprised at the end when Flute and Connell show up. Not that Connell is alive, because Miss Gail would never have done that.
No.
I'm surprised that Flute was riding him. That just seems very silly and inappropriate to me.
Don't make me laugh. I can't move my head.
I'm sorry, but I'm really surprised that Flute was riding Connell.
Oh, yes.
And it's not because, Connell's an alpha werewolf, which would be weird anyway. It's because I just feel like Flute would find it inappropriate.
I can imagine there's a deleted scene somewhere of that conversation.
And he's, not wearing the proper riding attire or something. There's a reason. Oh, no.
But, sir, my collar will go askew.
Sir, are you quite certain I should be riding you in these pants?
Sir, you are my social better. One should not ride the aristocracy.
One should not ride the aristocracy, yes. It's fantastic. It's my favorite final thought quote, I think. What are yours? Let's just move on to
what favourite final thought quote?
Yes. One should not ride the aristocracy.
Yes. He was rather like little old Biddy who collected Demitask teacups that she then set upon a shelf to admire. It is all very well to have a secret society of geniuses, but to keep such information secret from the members defeats the purpose. His training taught him to be practical, to look at the evidence, to watch and observe, never to assume, and always be stylish about it.
Oh, indeed.
I love Biffy.
Me too.
I'm just going to give you 3, because otherwise I'll just give you the book.
Yeah. Biffy, my darling boy, what have you done to your hair? Something new for the evening? And he's just waltzing around with a werewolf head. Panicked, panting. Panting panically. My darling boy, what have you done to your hair? Okay, so that's my favorite one that I mentioned earlier, but I will also add, she was certain, had she been the kind of woman to faint, she would have done so right then and there. But she was not, so she panicked instead. And there was probably some panicked panting involved.
Oh, 100%. There's always some panicked panting.
Yes. And finally, Alexia was confused, but not angry. She didn't have enough emotion left to be angry. Oh.
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 Oh. I think I lost my fan a little bit. No, it's fine. It's still there.
Oh, we've had a landslide, a hat slide.
Yes, yeah.
Ooh! Question.
What?
Biffy is an alpha werewolf, yeah?
Yes.
So if he'd been successfully metamorphosed as a vampire, which you can safely assume would have been possible,
yes,
since he became an alpha were, Do you... he couldn't have been a queen because... Or could he? Or can't he? Gendering queen is...
I think...
subjective. But would he have just been an independent, like Dharma? And been a strong...
Yeah, I think that he probably would have been a rove just fine on his own. But I do believe that in Miss Gale's world, it has to be female to create.
They have to be female from birth.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense because it follows the whole bee ant.
Yeah, it's all based on bees. Yeah.
Yeah, which is that's fair enough. But I can imagine him being an equally strong raw vampire like Dharma.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just wanted your opinion on that.
Yeah.
I completely forgot to ask you earlier.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Claire, it's time. It's time for Would You Rather.
It's time.
It's time.
Pew, 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 pew.
And we're very, very excited this time. Because Miss Gale's here. Miss Gale is here. We're so excited that she's joined in.
Hello. I'm delighted to be back.
Yay. It's been so long.
It has been too long, really. It's like you forgot about me.
No, you didn't. Never. Okay, so Claire, what's our first Would You Rather question that we're asking?
We're going to ease it in nice and easy. Would you rather enjoy a nice, delightful cup of tea or a cup of hot chocolate or warm milk with some cinnamon?
Well, I mean, it's an easy answer for me. It's always tea. In fact, I sat down to start this recording and realized I did not bring tea, and I'm regretting my whole life already. But, yeah, it's always tea, but late at night, of course, it's not tea. It's something else.
It's coffee late at night.
Yeah, hot chocolate or... I do like what I learned to call ambrosia, which is like milk warmed up with a little bit of sweetener if you want it, and then like some sprinkles of cinnamon or nutmeg or something on top. So
Ooh.
I do like that as an evening beverage, but most of the time it's tea.
Nice. I mean,
what about you two?
Tea. It's tea. It's obviously tea. I have tea. I am prepared with tea.
Yeah. See, not being British or fancy enough, I tend to lean away from tea because I'm from the American South, so my tea is not a warm tea; it is an iced tea. So I know. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry. So I think that I choose hot chocolate, although warm milk with cinnamon that tiny baby Prudence enjoys in this one, like, she's precious. So I feel like I might want to enjoy that as well. But I think calling it ambrosia makes it fancier.
I'm going to go and enjoy some ambrosia.
Put a tot of something in it too, like amaretto or something.
Yeah. Oh,
tipple of whiskey.
Sold. Yes. Yeah, ooh, that does sound nice.
I'm going to call Annie through space and time, superfan Annie.
Yes.
Annie, she'll do that. She'll put a tipple of whiskey in.
She will. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Ooh, that sounds nice.
If the author beast declares it, Annie will drink it.
Indeed.
Well, my mother used to put booze in her tea occasionally. Why not?
Well, exactly.
Well, I mean,
so that's the secret behind the British cup of tea. We say tea gets you through everything. It's not always just tea.
Exactly.
I mean, you can put liquor in everything.
Of course. There's a liquor made to be put in everything.
Yeah.
There's a liquor for everything and a tea for everything as well.
I am actually a huge fan of boozy desserts. I love some alcohol in my dessert. I think it's. I also am a huge fan of a dessert that is set on fire. It's like arbitrary. It appeals to something deep in my soul. So yeah.
How very British Bake-Off of you. Let's win over the judges by adding alcohol to our desserts.
Exactly.
And then setting it all on fire. It's perfect.
Yes. I was going to buy a blowtorch the other day, but I got told not to by my partner. For health and safety reasons.
Yeah, it's probably for the best. Now, should we move on to our next question?
Yeah.
Does not involve. Well, I guess maybe it could. It could involve fire.
It could very much involve fire.
Yeah. Would you rather travel by steamship or dirigible?
This is a very hard question for me because I love both being on water and being up high. But I think I would have to say dirigible because I like height. I just like being up high, always. So, and I like flying a lot. And it seems like such a sedate way to travel and so dignified. And you can look down on the world, which I don't know. Yeah, it's always been. My dad, who is 6'4", used to put me on his shoulders when I was a very small child, and I think that was it. I became a tree climber and a lover of heights ever since.
I don't love heights. I don't know. So I guess I'm gonna have to go with steamship. But it would be fun. I don't know. I'm not opposed to trying new things.
It would have to be a very fancy steam trip.
Yeah, but I would be fine with either one. I just won't lean over the edge. You know, if I'm high up in the air, I'll stay toward the middle because you might topple off.
Don't even lean over the edge on a steamship. You're asking for trouble.
You're in danger of toppling, no matter where you go.
Oh, I am a leaner over edgers.
No. Ooh.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to go dirigible because I get seasick, but I also want to have a glass bottom deck on part of a deck, so that I don't have to lean over, but I can still look down.
Ooh, I love those, but man, people who are afraid of heights, those are the worst for them. Because the walking on they're so fun. I love them in a boat too. I had to say the steamship should also have a glass bottom, so you can see all the fish.
Yeah, I'd be better. I'd be better with that.
I did the skywalk at the Grand Canyon, and the people who were scared of heights were literally like crawling across and like crying, and it was just so
that
funny.
Would be me.
And I'm lying on the ground going, "Wow!"
No. That was me in Seattle at the Space Needle, you know, looking over. Whoa, I can't even think about it. It makes me dizzy and
The thing is, though, about the Grand Canyon, if you ever go to it, it looks fake. It looks like... It's like, you know, the old movie or theatre, like, screen backgrounds. You look at it and think, that's what it is. It doesn't look real. It looks completely fake. So you're taking these pictures and you know you're at the Grand Canyon, but you could just as easily be in a studio somewhere and having those pictures taken.
I agree. That was exactly the same experience I had. I think maybe if you like hike it or walk down it or even took a biplane or a dirigible across it, it might feel a bit more realistic. Yeah. But just like seeing it there, it feels like a screen backdrop.
Yeah.
It's too much almost for the brain to sort of comprehend.
Yeah. It flattens it to 2D. It's weird.
That's wild. Now I need to experience it.
Even on the skywalk, looking down, it didn't look real.
No. Can't.
Okay, while Amanda's vomiting, would you rather have a dirigible name Great Mitten Slayer or Lady Boobs Along?
Mitten Slayer for me. I just think it's fun.
I love Lady Boops Along. All of your names for everything are just perfection. So
naming things is my favorite thing to do. I name everything. I name weird inanimate objects. I like to name stuff. So
I want dandelion fluff on a spoon.
Dandelion fluff on a spoon.
Well, we couldn't choose that one because obviously we would all select that one as our answer. So Lady Boops Along. Lady Boops Along for me.
I love the word mitten too. You know the Germans call them hand shoes, which makes me so happy I can hardly contain myself. Right? Shoes for your hands.
You toppled my octopus with that one.
I want some fancy hand shoes
too. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Oh. I want the Great Mitten Slayer, but I might change it from a mitten to something else, to another accessory.
Oh, you're gonna slay
at the moment
another
the Great
accessory?
Hat Slayer, because damn, these hats are heavy.
They are so heavy, but it's worth it.
Go Ivy or go home.
Exactly. Okay. Would you rather be vampire queen in London or in Egypt?
I am going to say London, not because I'm not highly enamored of Egypt, which, if you've read my books, is obvious, but simply because it's darker there, so you get more awake time. So, it's the climate, really, for me, long term.
Yeah. Farther away from the equator.
Exactly.
Yeah. I do prefer a drearier temperature.
Environment, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't like the sun. I disagree with the sun.
On principle.
So, yeah. Yeah, just in general.
The sun disagrees with me.
Also that, yeah.
At least you can be you can have a brooding vampire moment in London. You can't really do a very good brooding vampire in Egypt.
Much harder to brood in Egypt, you're right.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to brood in direct sunlight.
Although presumably Tutmosis III would object to that. He was pretty broody. But
there's always one.
Emo. The emo pharaoh.
Oh, I love that though.
They do wear eyeliner.
That's the origin story of guyliner right there.
Oh,
but
wow.
you gotta love it. It's a sexy look. It's a sexy look. You gotta love it.
I'm a huge fan, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering how they can have that, the half of the eye fringe, and it's half one colour.
Well,
the Egyptians were big on wigs and things, so they could do anything they wanted, really.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy hairstyles, I imagine.
Yeah. It'll be fine.
There's got to be something with the beard as well.
Oh, I'm sure the beard was fantastic. The one little chin.
With the chin with the little uptick.
Yeah.
There's got to be something in that.
Oh.
The origin story of emos is way back thousands
is
of years
ancient
ago
Egypt.
in Egypt.
Yes. I mean, we've solved a lot of things so far in this episode, and we're only not even 20 minutes in, so.
We'll come here for the philosophical musings and the intellectual conversation.
This is the history I need to learn about.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, what's our last would you rather question?
Would you rather be a preternatural or metanatural?
Metanatural. That one was written for me. That's unquestionably one of the superpowers I would like the most. But yeah, truly my absolute favorite.
You say one. What other?
Well, when
superpowers?
I was younger, people would ask me that question, and I always said gills. I love the water. It's my happy place, and the idea of being able to just breathe underwater and never have to surface again is incredibly appealing. So now I might say, the ability to be a mermaid or an otter shifter or something like that, because, I just love the idea of being underwater for long periods of time. But
if you're metanatural, though, you can do that. You just got to find a friend.
And metanatural is the best of all possible worlds, as far as I'm concerned, is you get to try any shape you want for an evening.
Yeah.
It's like having a vast maximal wardrobe, but of different creatures you could be. I think it's a very exciting possibility.
Well, why am I picturing the queen from Return to Oz? When she walks into a wardrobe, but it's all just different heads. Except this one, it's different meat suits with supernatural power to take this evening. Yeah.
There's hooks everywhere, and it's very chilly.
If I wrote horror, it would be something like that.
You need to try your hand at horror. That's my favorite. So if we could just walk into a closet of meat suits, but also everything is very fancily named. I'm here, sold. I've already pre-ordered it.
I'm doing comfort ridiculous horror. I can't.
Yes.
I mean, the soulless to a certain extent crept in there because the golem's pretty horrifying. And then I was like, I don't know, and I sort of shied away from that after that book. But I don't read horror. So.
It's a
science.
It's a science.
I can do gothic. Horror is not. It's not a genre I read. Therefore, I cannot write. That is the rule.
Right.
Sorry.
I'd wish that you did though, because horror is my favorite.
Also, you're like the only one who has ever made that request. I mean, I keep an eye talking to like.
I would dispute that. I think if we put on the Parasol Protectorate Facebook group, should Miss Grail put on cozy horror? Yes.
You have to put other things in there, though. It has to be like, horror, dark romance, other things that I would likely write that are tangential to the fandom and see which ones would win.
Okay.
I would be wildly
accepted.
interested to see. Yeah.
Yeah,
we will post it once this episode's gone live. We will post.
Yes.
Post poll.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be perfect.
Yeah, because I have always assumed, but I've made this erroneous assumption in the past where I'm like, I can't have that many readers who like that genre, and then they all are like, no, we wider than you think we do. I'm so shocked.
Oh, Claire, how are you answering this question?
I don't know. I feel like my villain origin story could be as a preternatural. Let's take away the powers.
It is a very powerful ability.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, womp womp, stab.
Yeah.
I feel like I could go down that villain origin kind of like assassin.
Yeah.
Of course, I've turned to evil.
Of course you have.
I'm not using my powers for good.
Right. Because we never do. Never, ever.
How could I use my powers for good as a preternatural?
Well, you can help ancient vampire queens pass on peacefully.
For a price, I'll do it. How many zeros are on there?
Exorcism is the power, the true gift that a preternatural has to utilize. The troubled can, the too old or the undead who are going to poltergeist or whatever, like that's the real kind of skill set. But you have to, touch really gooey carnage and stuff like that.
You could walk into a haunted location and everybody's like, you're the monster. And there's something appealing about that.
Yeah. And you do love to go bothering ghosts, as you say. I love a ghost
bothering, yes.
So if you're an exorcist, I mean, there's a whole horror franchise, I'm pretty sure, that already is part of that. The title escapes my mind right now, but I'm pretty sure it has something to do with an exorcist.
It could.
The Exorcist.
It could.
But see, you could do it. You could do it.
And I could have a fancy hat.
And now we're turning it even more horror for Miss Gale. See, we're just helping you.
Again. I know.
We're just helping. So that's what we do best.
I could have this weird benevolent case that I've got to do and travel to Egypt to save the queen.
Yeah.
By killing her.
Yes. Sometimes that's the best thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what I would choose because I already don't have a soul. I am soulless. So it seems like preternatural would just come naturally to me.
So to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have an aversion to baths? Because then that will be metanatural.
No, I love to just soak in a bathtub.
That is the problem, is I'm a huge fan of bath and swimming and all of those sorts of things. But I'm also a huge fan of changing how I look as much as humanly possible. So,
of course.
Or super naturally possible, I suppose.
You're a mermaid. You're fine with baths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like once you grow up a little bit, you know, when you understand the reason why you don't like a bath, you can learn to enjoy them.
Yes, and you can also change into a creature that likes that and engage that way.
Yeah. It's the perfect way to have a bubble bath. Become a mermaid.
Want a nap? Turn into a cat.
Yes. Just turn into all the things that you need. You have to have like a whole menagerie around you, though.
But the dream is just at one point to like just stand there and What We Do in the Shadows style, scream bat as you touch somebody, a bat, and then turn into a bat.
That would
that's
be
the
a good dream.
That's the dream.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
I mean, I do, not to spoil, but like these books are old now, so screw all y'all if you haven't read them. But you could be a dragon. I mean, come on. Who doesn't want to try that on
Right?
for size,
Yeah.
so to speak? I mean, yeah. So, yeah,
So many things. Yeah.
Definitely in the
Prudence's curiosity is certainly understandable.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love her personality of, ooh, let's do the thing, because that's definitely my personality. I mean, especially around certain things, like food or clothing or whatever. So, yeah, I very much jive with that aspect of her.
Nice. Do the thing. Say the weird thing and do the weird thing.
Yes. Yes. Even though we're talking about Parasol Protectorate and not Custard Protocol, I just, like, Prudence is one of my most favorite characters across everything I have read, like, in all times.
No.
At my library, we will write questions of a week on a whiteboard, and a couple of weeks ago, the question was, who would you want to be your fictional best friend? And so just straight across the top was Prudence McCone Akeldama, like, that's it. It's
Yay.
Prudence.
Yeah.
She's got to be there.
Great. She's a very fun character to write, actually. That's part of it as well, is that personality is, yeah.
I'm a Sophronia girly.
I do love Sophronia as well, though, because I'm in love with soap. But we've already had this conversation in many episodes.
We have.
Would You Rather is over.
It is.
Everyone, make sure you go and check out the bonus episode. It's very, very important.
Do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do it. Don't make Biffy upset.
No. Okay, so if you liked this, try this. What can you suggest to wrap up this series?
Well, I feel like I've run out of steampunk books at this point.
Yeah.
Every one that I've read, I have recommended.
Yeah.
So I went to Reddit and
Same.
went for YA Egyptian themed.
Nice.
Because we're in Egypt, so why the heck it's not? And the one that kept repeatedly coming up was the City of Brass trilogy. Sorry, the City of Brass is the first book. It's the Devabad, I'm saying that wrong, trilogy, and it's by S.A. Chakraborty. I have not read it. I do have a Chakraborty book. It's the female pirate one, but I haven't had a chance to read it yet. So this is a summary from Goodreads, and it does look very good. It's very highly rated. Nahari has never believed in magic. Certainly she has power. On the streets of the 18th century Cairo, she's a con woman of unsurpassed talent, but she knows better than anyone that the trade she uses to get by, palm readings, SARS, healings, are all tricks, sleights of hands, learned skills, a means to the delightful end of swindling Ottoman nobles. When Hari accidentally summons an equally sly, darkly mysterious djinn, a warrior, to her side during one of her cons, she's forced to accept that the magical world she thought only existed in her childhood stories is real. For the warrior tells her a new tale. Across hot, windswept sands, teeming with creatures of fire and rivers where mythical married sleep, past ruins of once magnificent human metropolises and mountains where the circling hawks are not what they seem, lies Devabad, the legendary city of brass, a city to which Nahari is irrevocably bound. In that city, behind gilded brass walls laced with enchantments, behind the 6 gates of the 6 Jinn tribes, old resentments are simmering. Then Nahari decides to enter this world. She learns that true power is fierce and brutal, that magic cannot shield her from the dangerous web of court politics, that even the cleverest of schemes can have deadly consequences. After all, there is a reason they say, be careful what you wish for.
Ooh, I like a good djinn story. That's fun.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I read a djinn story.
I just think of the Wishmaster movie series that I love, and they're always so horrible, and then, everything just turns into a monkey paw story, and everything's bad, and I love it.
Yes, I'm thinking there was that story that we read, Something Stars. Not Across the Stars.
I know what you're talking about, but my brain is not functioning right now on account of this.
No,
hat.
my brain has been compressed by hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I will think. You give me yours.
Okay. I am suggesting The Iron Duke by Mel Jean Brooke, which I also found on Reddit.
I have read that one. It is good.
Here is the summary. After the Iron Duke freed England from Horde control, he instantly became a national hero. Now, Rhys Trahan has built a merchant empire on the power and fear of his name. And when a dead body is dropped from an airship onto his doorstep, bringing Detective Inspector Mina Wentworth into his dangerous world, he intends to make her his next possession. But when Mina uncovers the victim's identity, she stumbles upon a conspiracy that threatens the lives of everyone in England. To save them, Mina and Rhys must race across zombie-infested wastelands and treacherous oceans, and Mina discovers the danger is not only to her countrymen, as she finds herself tempted to give up everything to the Iron Duke.
Do we have a new indie spotlight?
We do. However, this is the second one in a series, but they were really interested in us sharing this one, so I said, you know what? We'll do it. We'll just share it. Unfortunately, though, this one releases time-wise. This one has come out already, May 20th.
So it's new.
So it's brand new. It's brand new. But it's the second one in a series. So this one is called Whisper of Fate by Molly Crow. This is the second book in the Soul Defenders series, but it sounds really good, so I would suggest that everyone go and check out Soul Defenders, and then you can read this one because it's out now. In this gripping sequel to Shadow of Hope, love, destiny, and loyalty collide as Callista fights for her kingdom and her life. As Callista takes on the mantle of queen, the weight of her choices grows heavier. Threats rise within her kingdom and beyond, and tales of suffering in the Krasiv Isles push her toward a daring mission that could change everything. Guided by ancient spirits, Callista must face assassins, uncover secrets, and confront the looming menace of Lord Mayhan. At her side are the two men tied to her in ways she cannot ignore. Rain, the assassin haunted by his past, who holds her heart, and Luke, her loyal general, whose destiny may be greater than anyone imagined. As alliances falter and sacrifices grow inevitable, Callista must decide how much she's willing to risk for love. And if you think about it, we could just insert pieces of the Parasol Protectorate into this, and it would all just line up nicely. So, #tenuous link, I feel like.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So everyone go and check out this series.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, that is it for this episode of Fictional Hangover. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire.
Join us next time as we discuss Apprentice to the Villain
Yes.
by Hannah Nicole Mayer. Yeah. We're finally getting around to this one. Yeah. Look out for our Would You Rather polls and monthly challenges on social media. Don't forget about our book club on Discord. Be sure to visit our shop on Redbubble at fictionalhangover.redbubble.com for all your favorite Fictional Hangover-themed merchandise, and become a patron of ours on Patreon at patreon.com/fictionalhangover. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book.
You can find us at fictionalhangover.com and follow us on all social media at Fictional Hangover. If you like this episode, check out our others and be sure to rate, review and subscribe so you don't miss out. Thanks for listening.